So, if you are interacting with AI right now by just staring blankly at an empty prompt box, just waiting for inspiration to strike, you are actually doing it completely backwards.
Oh, completely. Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, we've all been conditioned to look at that blinking cursor and think we need to, like, command the machine to summon some masterpiece out of thin air. But if you care about actually learning how things work and saving yourself from the endless frustration of information overload, we really need to completely flip that script.
Right. Absolutely.
So, welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to, well, basically shift your entire perspective on artificial intelligence. Based on the document Feed It Something, we have to stop viewing this technology as a generator from scratch and start treating it as a transformer of raw material.
Yeah. Because it's a massive misconception, honestly, and it limits the entire capability of the technology.
Mhm.
People approach these tools like they are, I don't know, magic 8 balls or digital ghostwriters.
Right, like it's just going to magically know what you want.
Exactly. But if you're only using them to generate text from a completely blank slate, you're leaving the most powerful, highly capable functions,
Yep. Yeah.
completely untouched.
Okay, let's unpack this because I gotta admit, realizing what I was doing wrong here was a huge aha moment for me.
Oh, for sure. Same here.
Before we get into the right way to use AI as a transformer, we really have to look at why the default way is actively holding us back. The whole write me a blog post or write me an email from scratch method.
Yeah, the blank page prompt.
Right. To me, asking an AI to write something entirely from scratch is, well, it's a lot like walking into a massive fluorescent lit department store and just buying a one size fits all suit right off the rack.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Right. I mean, sure, it technically covers your body. It has sleeves. It has buttons. It fulfills the basic definition of clothing.
Yeah, technically it's a suit.
But it doesn't actually fit you. It sags in the wrong places. It doesn't contour to your specific shape. And it definitely does not reflect your personal style. It's just generic.
That is a brilliant way to visualize the problem. And, when you look under the hood at the actual mechanics of a large language model, an LLM, the reason you get that ill-fitting generic output makes complete sense.
Because it's not actually thinking, right?
Exactly. These models don't think the way we do. They generate text by predicting what word or token should logically come next, and that's based purely on massive statistical patterns.
So just math, basically.
Yeah, just math. I mean, they ingested trillions of words of human text during their training, and they mapped the mathematical relationships between all of those words.
So when I sit down at a blank prompt and just type, like, write a project update, I'm giving it almost nothing to go on. It has to guess everything.
Right. It's playing the ultimate game of statistical averages.
And so it defaults to the most middle-of-the-road corporate speak possible.
Worse than guessing, honestly, it's generalizing.
Mm.
Because you haven't provided any specific boundaries, every single micro decision the model makes defaults to the mathematical average.
Which is why it always sounds so boring.
Yeah. It calculates the most mathematically probable tone, the most average structural format, the most common industry terminology. It doesn't know your specific level of expertise or what nuances you actually care about.
So the result is, like, highly competent, perfectly grammatical, and just entirely soulless.
Soulless, yes. It reads fine, but it reads like it could have been written for anyone, anywhere, in any organization.
It lacks reality, like your reality. So if generating from a blank slate gives us that generic one-size-fits-all department store suit, I guess the only way to get a custom tailoring job is to bring our own fabric.
Yes,
We
exactly.
have to stop asking the AI to guess and start giving it the answers up front.
What's fascinating here is the psychological shift. We have to anchor the AI to our reality. When you feed the tool your own material, you fundamentally change the mathematical equation it's running.
How so? Like, what actually changes?
Well, you aren't just giving it a topic anymore.
Hmm.
You're shrinking its entire universe of possibilities down to your specific context.
Uh,
Think about it as narrowing the search space.
Oh, okay.
When you provide a rough draft or your own notes, the tool is no longer forced to calculate the probability of what tone you might want because your draft already establishes that tone.
Right, so it doesn't have to guess.
Exactly. The mathematical weights shift. It isn't pulling generic terminology from its vast training data because your document already supplies the correct hyperlocal terms.
So you're forcing it to stay within your world.
Yeah, you anchor the output to your professional reality. You force the AI to operate within the fences you've built rather than just, letting it roam wild across the entire internet's worth of averages.
Let's look at a real-world scenario from the text to make this concrete for you listening. Imagine a healthcare administrator. They are completely swamped, and they desperately need to write a budget justification memo to get 2 additional full-time employees' FTEs approved for their floor.
A very high stakes document.
Extremely high stakes. Now, if that administrator sits down at a blank prompt and types, "Write me a budget justification memo for 2 additional FTEs," the AI has to invent the details.
It has no choice.
Right. It's going to create a plausible, completely fabricated scenario about patient care and workload. It's beautifully written fiction.
Which is obviously entirely useless for getting a real budget approved.
Yeah. No CFO is approving a fictional budget.
But imagine a second administrator. They don't ask the AI to invent anything. Instead, they take a messy, unstructured brain dump, bullet points about nurse burnout, a few specific overtime numbers, maybe some fragmented thoughts they jotted down after a grueling shift.
Just totally raw notes.
Completely raw. They paste that raw chaos into the tool and say, tighten this up, make the argument stronger, and cut it to a one-page professional memo.
And the output is dramatically different.
Night and day. It's real, it's accurate,
What?
and it just sounds significantly more persuasive.
It's a total psychological shift. Like, the first person asked the AI to create, basically handing over the responsibility of invention, but the second person asked the AI to transform.
Yes.
They kept total ownership of reality and just used the software to refine it.
And that is where the superpower lies. You are acting as a director, not a drafter.
But wait, let me push back on this for a second.
Sure.
Because if I'm gathering overtime data and formatting my messy notes, finding all this information and typing out these instructions, aren't I just doing the work anyway?
I hear that a lot.
Right. Like, if I still have to sit down and produce a document to feed the machine, where is the actual time savings? Isn't the whole point of AI to save me from writing the rough draft in the first place?
It's a very common hesitation, but it really stems from a misunderstanding of what we mean by a rough draft.
Okay, what do you mean then?
The material you feed the AI does not need to be a cohesive, grammatically correct essay. The prep is the work of a director, but it's entirely unstructured work.
So I don't need full sentences.
Not at all. The document you paste in can be incredibly raw. It can be a chaotic stream of consciousness full of typos. It can be literally just a list of grievances. You aren't doing the grueling labor of structuring sentences and paragraphs. You are simply dumping the raw building blocks onto the table.
And the AI puts them together.
Exactly. The AI does the heavy lifting of assembly.
Which brings us to a massive relief for you listening right now. You do not have to go digging for these building blocks. This raw material is probably already sitting on your desk or, buried somewhere in your sent folder.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're wondering what to feed it, just look at your everyday digital exhaust.
Exactly. We can break this raw material down into a few highly actionable categories.
Yeah.
Let's start with drafts.
Okay.
Keeping with our healthcare administrator, a draft doesn't mean a polished Word document. It could literally be a half-finished email you abandoned before lunch because you got called into a meeting.
Oh, I have so many of those.
Right. Or it could be the scribbled, barely legible notes you took on a legal pad during a conference call.
Or a failed first attempt at a policy summary that you stared at for 20 minutes before just giving up. That abandoned email, that is gold. You just paste those fragmented thoughts and let the AI bridge the gaps. But it's not just drafts, right? Think about the raw data sitting in your spreadsheets.
Data is incredibly powerful raw material. We're talking tables of monthly patient volumes, or maybe a spreadsheet showing overtime hours broken down by specific hospital wings, or last quarter's quality metrics.
That's a lot of numbers to process.
It is. Now, an important caveat here. These AI tools cannot magically reach into your organization's private secure databases on their own.
Right, they aren't omniscient.
No. You have to physically extract that data and paste it into your secure workspace. But once you introduce that data, the model can instantly spot statistical trends and generate narrative summaries based entirely on your actual numbers.
See, this blows my mind every time. Moving from a dense spreadsheet of numbers to a coherent written narrative summary usually takes hours of intense human focus. You have to, find the story in the map.
That's exhausting work.
Totally. But the AI does it in seconds, provided you give it the actual math to work with. But for me, the absolute best flavor of raw material, the one that will literally save everyone's sanity, is existing communications.
Oh, without a doubt. We have all experienced the nightmare of the unwieldy email thread.
The reply all apocalypse.
Yes.
You get CC'd on a 42-message chain. Someone asks a simple question about a project timeline. Then 3 other people chime in about a completely unrelated holiday schedule. And suddenly 2 directors are locked in this heated debate about the hex code color of the presentation deck.
It's the worst.
It is a chaotic mess, and you're somehow expected to know what's going on.
It's a massive drain on productivity.
Yeah.
But you can take that entire chaotic thread, paste it into the tool, and give it a highly specific directive.
Good boy.
Like, summarize this email chain into 3 bullet points, identifying the key decisions made, and list the outstanding action items for my team.
Wow.
Yeah, the AI strips away all the arguments about hex codes and holiday schedules and extracts only the operational reality you actually need.
That is amazing.
Or, conversely, you can take a massive, dense, 80-page report from a different department and ask the AI to transform it into a 1-page executive summary tailored specifically for what your team cares about.
It's like having a superhuman reading comprehension assistant.
No.
But here's where it gets really interesting. There is another category of raw material that is wildly underutilized, and that's templates and examples.
This is huge.
You don't just have to feed it content, you can feed it structural DNA.
This is a masterclass in using the technology.
Yeah.
Let's say you have a specific memo format that your director absolutely loves, or, a weekly report structure that always lands perfectly with your executive board.
Yeah.
Most people try to describe that structure to the AI in the prompt. They'll say, make it professional, use bullet points, bold the headers.
Which never quite works the way you want it to. It always looks a little off.
Because language is imprecise. But if you take an old successful report, paste it in, and say, here is an example of the exact structure my director likes. Write a new report on this week's patient throughput, using my new notes, but following this exact structural format.
Oh, so you are using the AI as a structural mimic.
Exactly.
It clones the formatting, the cadence, and the exact level of detail far more effectively than a paragraph of you trying to describe what your boss likes. You're basically giving it the architectural blueprint.
Precisely. You aren't just giving it the bricks, you are showing it exactly how to lay them.
Okay, so we know the raw material is all around us. We've got our chaotic brain dumps, our overtime data, our nightmare email threads, and our proven templates. But we have to talk about the actual mechanics of handing this over.
Right, the how-to.
Because you can't just take a massive spreadsheet, dump it into the chat window with 0 explanation, hit enter, and expect a miracle. There's a real art to the feed.
It definitely requires a specific management style.
I like to compare it to managing an eager, lightning-fast, brilliant, but incredibly inexperienced human assistant.
That's a great analogy.
Think about it. If you hired a 19-year-old intern on their first day, you wouldn't just drop a towering, disorganized pile of papers on their desk, grunt the words, fix this, and walk away.
They would panic.
They would do it completely wrong. You have to give them boundaries, and you have to give them context.
This raises an important question, though, regarding how much hand-holding a massive neural network actually needs.
Right. How much does it need?
The answer is a lot, but it's strategic hand-holding. There are specific best practices for feeding material, and they all hinge on the fact that context is the bridge between raw, messy data and highly usable knowledge.
So the first major practice is labeling. You should never just paste a block of text and say, help me with this. You need to be incredibly explicit about what the machine is looking at. You say, below is a rough draft of a memo I am writing to my department heads about a new scheduling policy. I need you to improve the clarity, tighten the overall structure, and ensure the tone is professional but not overly stiff.
Let's look at the why behind labeling. When you label a document, you instantly narrow the AI's search space.
Okay.
Instead of the model searching its entire multi-trillion-word database for how to sound, you have locked it into a highly specific linguistic neighborhood.
Ah, I see.
By identifying it as a scheduling policy memo for department heads, the AI's attention mechanisms mathematically weigh words related to logistics, professionalism, and directives much heavier than words related to casual conversation or creative storytelling.
Wow.
You are directing the transformation at a mathematical level.
You're fencing it in,
Yeah.
which leads perfectly into the second practice. Be explicit about what to keep and what to change. Sometimes you write a draft where the opening is absolute fire. You nailed it. But the middle section is a rambling disaster. You have to tell the AI that.
It won't know otherwise.
Exactly. You establish boundaries by saying, the first paragraph is solid, do not change it. Rewrite the second and third paragraphs to be much more specific about the implementation timeline. That way, the eager intern doesn't accidentally overwrite the brilliant work you already did.
You are protecting your core insights. And then we arrive at what is arguably the most powerful mechanism of all, providing context. Raw material is helpful, but raw material injected with rich human context is a magic multiplier.
Let's go back to our healthcare administrator looking at overtime numbers. You don't just paste a wall of numbers and say summarize.
Right.
You say, here's last quarter's overtime data by hospital unit. I need to present this data to the chief financial officer next week. She cares primarily about long-term cost trends, and she will want to see the direct connection to the recent changes in patient volume. Turn this raw data into a one-page narrative summary.
That is the perfect anatomy of a prompt. Let's break down why that works so well.
Okay, let's hear it.
The raw data gives the statistical model the indisputable facts it needs to anchor its reality. But the context, the who and the why, is what shapes the output.
Because it knows who the CFO is.
Exactly. By specifying that the audience is the CFO and that her priority is cost trends connected to patient volume, you are manipulating the AI's attention mechanism again. It won't just list the highest overtime hours. It will proactively frame those hours through a financial lens.
That's brilliant.
It adjusts its entire output based on the human context you provided.
It's the difference between getting a basic book report and getting a high-level strategic brief.
Completely.
The final best practice I want to touch on is leveraging the workspace, often called a canvas or an artifact, depending on the specific tool you use.
Oh, these are game changers?
For a long time, the chat interface was incredibly frustrating for long documents. If you asked for a 2-page report and you loved everything except, like, the 4th paragraph, you had to ask it to rewrite the whole thing.
And sometimes it would ruin the parts you liked.
Yes, it was so annoying.
It was a very brittle process. But persistent workspaces change that. When a tool opens your document in a side panel or a dedicated canvas, it allows for targeted, localized revision.
Right. You can literally just highlight that one annoying 4th paragraph and say, make just this section a little more formal without regenerating the entire piece from top to bottom.
It's amazing.
It's essential when you are feeding it substantial raw material because you don't want to lose your hard-earned progress over a tiny tweak.
It allows for an iterative partnership rather than just a one-shot gamble.
Okay, so we've covered the fundamental trap of the blank page. We know the incredible power of anchoring the AI to reality with our own raw material.
Yep.
We know what that material looks like, the drafts, the data, the messy threads, and we know exactly how to feed it by labeling, bounding, and contextualizing.
We've covered a lot of ground.
So what does this all mean? Because hearing all of these incredible capabilities, it might be tempting to think your job going forward is just to be a copy and paste middleman.
Just a human conveyor belt.
Right. Just grab a messy file, toss it over the fence to the AI, and let the algorithm run your professional life. But we have to talk about the hard, undeniable limits of this technology. It brings up this vital concept of the human firewall.
It is a critical distinction that really separates the amateurs from the professionals. Feeding raw material into a massive language model does not, under any circumstances, replace your professional judgment.
So where does the magic stop? What is the AI mathematically incapable of doing?
Well, the tool is brilliant at restructuring the syntax of a memo. It cannot, however, evaluate if the core argument of that memo is actually strategically sound for your specific organization.
Right, it doesn't know your business goals.
Exactly. It can summarize complex tables of overtime data in 5 seconds. But it cannot tell you if that spreadsheet was accurate or complete before you pasted it in.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Precisely. It can beautifully rewrite a tense email to sound perfectly diplomatic and professional, but it cannot gauge if that specific tone will actually land correctly with the complex, emotional human being receiving it on the other end.
Because it doesn't have localized human context. It doesn't know the politics of your office.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't know that Susan from accounting is currently incredibly stressed about a totally different project, or that the VP prefers harsh, blunt bullet points over warm, flowery language. It lacks sensory input.
Exactly. It operates in a vacuum of text.
Yeah.
The AI is a powerful collaborator, but it is not a substitute for human intuition. Outsourcing your professional judgment to a statistical language processor is a massive risk.
You can't just blindly trust it.
Never. The absolute best results, the ones that actually move the needle in a career, come from a synthesis. You combine the AI's unmatched, inhuman speed in processing, structuring, and generating language with your own deeply human knowledge of the organization, the audience, and the broader strategic goals.
I love that framing. The AI is the high-performance engine, but you still have to drive the car.
Yes.
You have to sit behind the wheel and be the human firewall, ensuring the output actually makes sense in the messy, nuanced, real world.
Critical thinking remains the ultimate filter.
Yeah.
It is the only way to ensure the tool acts as a genuine productivity asset, rather than just, generating confident-sounding hallucinations.
Let's bring this all together for you listening. The era of staring at a blinking cursor on a blank page, asking an AI to invent something out of thin air, is over.
It really is.
It's time to shift from being a creator from scratch to being a director of transformation. The single best way to use these tools is to firmly anchor them to your reality.
Anchor them.
You do that by feeding them your messy, chaotic drafts, your unwieldy email threads, your dense data, and your proven templates. You label them clearly, you provide rich context, and you apply your strict professional judgment to the final product.
If you make this shift, the transformation and the quality, accuracy, and usefulness of your output will be immediate and obvious.
To sum up the core mission of this entire deep dive, it comes down to one simple realization from the text. The material is already on your desk. The tool just needs you to hand it over.
It really is that fundamental.
But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over on your own.
Oh, let's hear it.
We've spent this whole time establishing that the quality of the AI's output is now entirely dependent on the specific raw material you feed it.
Right.
If you feed it good data, you get great insights. But if that's true, what does that reveal about the underlying quality of your own rough drafts, your daily data collection, and your fundamental communication habits?
That's a scary thought.
Isn't it? If the AI is suddenly acting as a perfectly clear mirror to your own raw material, are you fully ready to look at what it reflects? Keep learning, keep questioning, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.